Hello, this is Mr. Chabry, and the thing that I find very interesting are the Pokemon designs that don't quite make the cut. These are known as Lost Pokémon, and in this video I want to talk about the top 10 favorite Lost Pokémon that I find very interesting. So number 10 on my list is going to be the mysterious cactus Pokemon from the Red and Green Beta. As far back as in Generation 1, they were planning to put a cactus Pokemon into the Pokedex, and it's not as interesting as it would have been since we do have Cacturne and Maractus, but I've always thought it would be cool to have a cactus Pokemon back before Generation 3. This thing is very different than any other cactus Pokemon we have gotten. It's got long legs and a long tail, and I still think this is a cool design if they decided to bring it back for a future Pokemon. So number 9 on my list is going to be a Pokemon that we sort of got, but not technically. This is going to be a Raikou Suicune fusion. According to Munyo Seto, I don't know if I pronounced that right, I'm sorry if I didn't, but according to him, the Pokemon Raikou and Suicune were originally going to be one Pokemon. So here you see basically a design based off of that idea. However, I do want to point out that in the Gold and Silver beta, Raikou and Suicune were designed to be totally different looking Pokemon. So I don't know how much of that was played into the design. All we have to go by is what he said, and he said it was a fusion of Suicune and Raikou. Number 8 on my list is going to be a Pokemon that I think is very interesting, that it existed at one time in the planning stages of Gold and Silver, and that's going to be Turbine. Turbine's going to be the Pokemon that attaches itself to Slowbro's tail and attaches itself to Slowking's head. Of course, in the Generation 1 anime, it is established that it's a Shelter that does that and helps form a Slowbro, and I wonder if that had any role in playing in them deciding not to have Turbine in Gold and Silver, since that means they would have to rewrite some of the things in the anime to make it make sense. But I do think it would be interesting if the thing that you saw on Slowbro's tail was actually its own Pokemon removed from the Slowbro line. Number 7 on my list is Warwolf. This Pokemon was found in the Gold and Silver demo, and it would have been a pure Ice type. There was a good chance that this would have been Pryce's main Pokemon once you go and face him. However, it seems like a lot of the design elements for this Pokemon were later used for Swinub and Piloswine. Warwolf is a Pokemon that has a wolf skin type thing around it, and you don't actually see the actual design of the Pokemon because it's hidden away. I do think this is a very interesting design, and I would love to see this thing in a future Pokemon game. Here at number 6, we have the Pokemon known as Akari. So Akari is a shark Pokemon with an anchor as a tail. This thing is a water steel type Pokemon, and it is very likely this could have been originally the Pokemon planned to inhabit the Lake of Rage, since its name is closely related to the Japanese word for rage as well. This Pokemon is interesting because it's got a small form that looks like a generic fish, but its final form is known as Grotesque. And this thing looks almost like Huntail and Lantern meshed together. But of course, the Pokemon that is the most interesting out of this line is going to be that middle stage, Akari, the shark with an anchor tail. And of course, this design looks very similar to the one used for Sharpedo later on. Number 5 is a Pokemon that we only know as Deer, and this Pokemon was found in the Red and Green Beta. This Pokemon has a wide set antlers that almost look more like moose antlers, and it's got a scorpion's tail. And instead of normal looking hooves, it looks almost like it has paws like a lion. So it's a mesh of a bunch of different creatures to create this very unique design. And I would love to see this thing used in a future Pokemon game. Number 4 on my list is a Pokemon known to us as Crocky. So this Pokemon was found in the Red and Green Beta, and this is a crocodile Pokemon with wild hair on either side of its head. This Pokemon could have very likely been the early inspiration for Feraligatr later on. but it would be really nice to have this thing brought back for a future Pokemon game, since its design is so unique that it doesn't really look that much like a Feraligatr or even a Crocodile, which came out in Generation 5. So I would think it'd be interesting if Crocky was given a second chance to shine in a future Pokemon game. Pokemon number 3 on my list is Musica. This Pokemon would have been the first fire water type Pokemon had it been released. This is a seal Pokemon that can create fireballs with its nose. And of course, Volcanion was later introduced as the first fire water type Pokemon. It would be so interesting if we had some more of that typing. I do think that some of the ideas from this design was used later on for Popplio, since Popplio is a sea lion Pokemon that bounces bubbles on its nose. This could have been a precursor to that. You know, instead of bubbles, it would bounce fireballs. So here we are at number 2 of the Lost Pokemon list, and this Pokemon is a Pokemon that I have to put on the list because of the ramifications that it could have had it been released. This Pokemon is a very popular Lost Pokemon, and it's going to be Gorochu. So if you don't know, this is a Pokemon that was originally in the Red and Green Beta, and it was going to be the final form of Pikachu. Originally, the Pikachu line was a 3 evolution line. You would have Pikachu as the first stage, Raikou as the second stage, and Gorochu coming in as the last stage of the Pokemon. We only have its back sprite, but we do have some artists that have tried to basically create what they think the front sprite of this Pokemon would look like. So here we have some art showing it in color, and here we have another one that basically has some clouds going around its body. Since the back sprite has this weird design that looks like it could be clouds. The ramifications of this would have been really crazy if this had been released, because this would have meant later on Pichu wouldn't have been implemented as a baby Pokemon, and the mascot of all Pokemon would have been the first stage in a 3-stage evolution line. So here we are at number 1, my favorite Lost Pokemon, and this Pokemon is going to be, drumroll please, Katara. So Katara is an electric type tiger that was originally going to be implemented in the first generation. We actually found the back sprite of this Pokemon in the Red and Green Beta, but this Pokemon was so popular that Game Freak decided they were going to try to implement it once again in the Gold and Silver Beta. However, it has been taken out as of that game too, and this design is a very nice design. I really love the design of Katara. Right now, our only tiger Pokemon is Incineroar, and that is a Pokemon that was added way later on in Generation 7. So it would have been so interesting if we had a tiger Pokemon since the first generation. This thing is so cute too. Not only is it cool, it is round and fluffy, so this thing would have probably sold a lot of plushes back in the day. But here it is, it's still not released as a Pokemon, and this is my favorite Lost Pokemon. So if you agree with my list, go ahead and let me know. If you have a different Lost Pokemon that you really like, leave that down in the comments. If you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next Pokemon video.